Chris Cuomo shrugs off illegal immigrants murdering Americans as artificial issue. This was a few days ago. Vinny, we never reacted to, but I want to play this clip that, here's a clip, Cuomo before and after. Go ahead, Rob.
We are fighting over culture issues and controversies that are completely made up. We divide this country over a single homicide of somebody, and it's absolutely wrong. What happened to Laken Riley is horrible. It's one too many, any way you want to look at it. But it is also an artificial issue. Of course, these actions are against the law. Of course, they're not what we want to see.
Talk about George Floyd.
But we in the majority cannot allow ourselves to be corrupted by toxic talk about the correct way to express that pain. Please don't just see the death of George Floyd. See all of it. Yes, this one is on video. And yes, it's so obvious. So that you can say, well, this one I get. It's not just this one.
I love Chris, but he is literally a walking contradiction. And if he sees this, Chris, I love you to death, but come on. From all the stuff from Russia collusion to COVID to calling unvaccinated people the real enemies. And it's like, how dare you say some stupid shit like this is a made up cultural issue and it shouldn't divide us over a single homicide. He's talking about Laken Riley, okay? First of all, after he says this, days later, and you guys know this, an illegal immigrant in Boulder, Colorado, started chucking Molotov cocktails and a flamethrower at Holocaust survivor women. Do you guys like? Let's all get there, okay? That the Biden administration let in, okay? This isn't a cultural issue. These are just facts, okay? Americans are dying. Families are being destroyed. The only reason it isn't bigger, and this is my opinion, is that the elites, the Democrat elites, just like Chris, and Chris is one of the elites, they haven't had any of this shit happen to their daughters or their wives. And I'm saying this, God forbid, and I hope God, and I hope Key understands what I'm saying. God forbid something like this, Pat, happens to one of Chris's daughters or Chris's mom. They get the same fate as Laken Riley, who's jogging and whatever, and then they get, beaten and raped and all that type of stuff, okay? I guarantee you change it and it's not going to be a single homicide at this point, okay? And just to prove my point even more, on May 2nd in Lancaster, South Carolina, 6 illegals. This is recent. This is just recent, May 2nd, last month. 6 illegals aged 13 to 21 shot and killed a mother during a failed robbery. After they murdered her, they texted, "Mission failed," and then said, This is just the beginning. The same group was tied to a burglary days earlier, and they used the same gun. No remorse, no accountability. And this is recent as well. Florida cops just arrested a 37-year-old illegal for molesting teen girls that the Biden administration handed over as part of their so-called unaccompanied minor policy. Okay, these kids were placed in homes of random adults. So no DNA test, no ID check, none of that shit, no criminal background, just hookups for a picture of some foreign ID texted and a rubber stamp. That's how these people are working, okay? This is that mindset, and I don't understand how you can say something like it's a single issue. How many times during Biden's administration we heard of American children, American women getting either beat or raped by illegals? And he's saying it's a single issue? Shame on you, Chris. Shame on you for saying some stupid shit like that. And I hate to be the guy to say it. These people talk like this, Pat, because it's never happened to anybody in their family. Saying, I told you, I said this story before. My cousin, he was they're pro open border, let everybody come in. Then they get rear-ended by an illegal that had no insurance. God forbid one of my cousin's kids got freaking hurt or something. And these people act like it's nothing.
What happened there? What happened with your cousin?
No, they got rear-ended, but the attitude was like, nah, like the attitude changes. The attitude changes. They still support the open border, but they're like, these things happen. I have insurance.
Do we have a wider clip of what he says, Rob? I want the context on how he breaks it down.
Yep, this is a 52-second clip.
Let me hear this one, because it's kind of like, I want to make sure it's not like there's good people on both sides. I want to hear that. Go for it.
Change how I feel about the parties. They are the problem. They are the root of this binary battle to the bottom. The division is almost exclusively manufactured. We are fighting over culture issues and controversies that are completely made up. We divide this country over a single homicide of somebody, and it's absolutely wrong. What happened to Laken Riley is horrible. It's one too many, any way you want to look at it. But it is also an artificial issue.
Really?
We have crime issues in this country. Our homicide problem is not from illegal immigrants, okay? Yeah, but there shouldn't be any. There shouldn't be any of a lot of things that we haven't made a top priority. The division is manufactured.
This is, by the way, this is the same guy on the PBD podcast in front of Candace Owens that said, no, we don't need to check IDs to vote. This is the problem. This is the problem. So that is in the context. How is it an issue that's dividing? We've been asking for a closed border. His party is pro-open border, okay? And I don't care which president, it could be Stephen A., whoever comes in. Pat, let me ask you a question. Stephen A., AOC, Bernie Sanders, Jasmine Crockett, they come in. Do they open the border? Is that one of their first priorities? Is, you know what? We're a country. We're open to everybody. Do they open the border back up and reverse Trump?
First of all, Stephen A. doesn't win, okay, on the Democratic side. Because
but if he does, you don't think they're going to tell him?
Hang on a second.
Okay.
You ask the question, I'll give you the answer. Stephen A. Smith doesn't win because they want the borders to be opened to get additional voters in the future. AOC, Bernie, Newsom, Crockett, Pritzker, all of those guys open the border, okay? All of those guys open the border. Tom, how do you process this with Chris on the video before and after? Because, you know, George Floyd divided America in a way that now WNBA is celebrating the 5-year anniversary of George Floyd's, overdose and, the whole, 9 minutes and, all that stuff, right? But how do you process Chris going from where he was at back in the days, the clip, to now where it's at with Laken Riley?
Yeah, so I see a couple things here. And we've spoke to Chris on camera, off camera, had a lot of conversations with him. So he is talking about some stats. And the stats he's talking about are out there that say that the immigrants that come to this country, there is a lower percent of certain violent crimes than, maybe in communities of color in downtown cities where there's color on color violence going on in downtown cities. Okay, he's right. He's right. If you want to look at downtown Cleveland and gangs and black on black violence, unfortunately, tragically, the percent of people involved in crime is greater than the percent of people involved in crime if you take a number of immigrants and you analyze it. The issue is so that he may be right. And I think he's also right that the two parties are trying to split us on issues and use any issue as a wedge. But I think what Americans are incensed about, that Chris really needs to embrace, is George Floyd was used as a wedge to give an excuse, and it was a funded summer riot campaign against conservatives. It was a funded summer riot. It was like a concert tour where they were funded and Antifa and what happened. And so we're all supposed to now sit back. So I see what Chris is doing. It's easy to come afterwards and say, hey, it's a single issue. Laken Riley, it shouldn't have happened. But we're being split by political forces on this issue. He's right about that. However, when you open the borders and bring it in and the trafficking has happened, I don't need to wait for a violent crime by an immigrant to know that the drug trafficking and the human trafficking and the abuse of children that's going on there that may not show up in murder stats is a hell of a reason to close the border and to protect the kids that are showing up at the border. Where did you come from and why are you here? So that's kind of where I'm at. I see where Chris is going, but what the crime that's come across the border, you can talk about violent crime, but the crime that's come across the border and what's happened with the drugs and the kids and the trafficking, it's huge.
And Tom, you nailed it. It's like it's a single homicide thing. Like the open border policy that the last, I'm not even going to call it Biden because he had nothing to do with
If
it.
Laken Riley is a single homicide, if Laken Riley is a single issue, is a single homicide issue, then George Floyd is a single homicide issue.
Yeah.
And there were wedges used, right? If you want
But
to make,
he wasn't saying
make that argument.
Yeah, but great point. But he wasn't saying that. And what I'm saying is, Tom, like, it wasn't just her. Every single week we were hearing about it and hearing about it and hearing about it. And then to say stuff like, you know, we don't need to check ID to vote. That gives the government more control. And then, Pat, we're going to get into these other stories. Like, just the fentanyl alone, hundreds of thousands of Americans have died every single year since Biden came in. And that's not a problem. And then what was it? Was it Washington Post? Please correct me if I'm wrong. Who just said that it was mysteriously the fentanyl deaths have declined? Who was that? And then the White House press secretary was talking crap. They said it's mysteriously coming down. And then we're going to talk about the Chinese nationals that are bringing in shit. It's like, what? How can you utter those words that it's a single issue? No. It was an invasion, and we still haven't even tasted. We've gotten hints of how bad it is. Wait until the real people that were giving cell phones, the real terrorists, are doing what the hell they're doing. Okay, because even Tom Homan said,
you don't have to wait because
happening.
they invaded apartments in Colorado outside of what was it?
Trinidad,
Aurora.
In Aurora.
Or was it Aurora?
Yeah.
But and then the sheriff or the chief of police said no. It's a little bit overblown because the governor apparently
Adam, thoughts?
told them to stand down.
Yeah,
but
he
it was
did.
Now later it was no. It really was happening. It did happen.
Yeah.
They have a base of
let me-
operation and they're trafficking in drugs.
Yeah.
Let me,
weird.
You good, Tom?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me weigh in on this, Chris. Let me talk some sense to my friend Chris Cuomo for a second. All right, Chris, you're actually absolutely right because the numbers don't lie. Tom, you know, words talk, numbers scream. Basically, he's saying that the media or these stories have been manufactured. They've been artificially made up. They kind of have, bro.
That's a made-up story. Laken
So hold
Riley.
on, tough guy.
I'm
Let
not
me
tough.
finish my point, and then you could start yelling. Rest in peace, Laken Riley. Horrible. But if you actually just follow the numbers, immigrants, illegal, documented, undocumented, whatever you want to call it, are actually twice less likely to commit crime or go to jail than the average American citizen. So it's almost like this. Remember when we had the guy on who basically said, yeah, you know, I ran all the stats about cops murdering black people. Turns out it's just actually not true. This was a black Harvard professor, right? And it was, this guy, Roland Fryer. And all his colleagues were like, dude, don't put this data out there. And he goes, well, let me run it back again to double check my work. And he ran it back again, and what did he find out? Turns out that police officers aren't just mowing down black people in the United States. The problem is this. Native-born American citizens are actually twice as likely to commit crimes and go to jail than illegal immigrants. However, that is not me justifying having open borders, wanting illegal citizens running around here, not building the wall. I think we still need to do that. But this is the whole thing about villainizing immigrants. They're all coming in here and they're killing everybody. No, these are one-off incidents. So for instance, I'll give you one more example. Remember when Trump came out there and said, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, they're eating the animals. Have we heard anything more about that since the day he was elected? No, because it actually wasn't true. And here's my point. These are all very freaking emotional things. Very freaking emotional. You don't think that Laken Riley, when something like that happens, doesn't pull at everyone's heartstrings? He goes, what the fuck is going on here? I could totally understand why you would get completely angry. I totally understand why you're the angry patriot. But if you watch the local news every day, which I rarely do, you know, there's something said that there's a famous phrase that says, if it bleeds, it leads. Go watch the local news. 7 people were murdered in Chicago today, and now to Rick with sports. There was a murder in downtown LA. 2 homeless men game raped a dog. And back to you, Chuck, with the weather. Like, this is happening every single day in America, in every single city. And it's no big deal, no big deal, no big deal. But when something happens to an illegal immigrant, sound the alarm. Just like when Tell them I highlight black on black
I'm
crime in
really
certain
trying
cities.
to see what you're
Yeah,
saying.
I'm
Adam.
so
saying-
confused
Hang on,
right
let me.
I'll be
I'm really-
very freaking clear.
Yeah, do so.
Chris
I
is
want to know more
correct.
about the poor dog in
Chris
Los Angeles.
is correct.
Yeah.
These are, in a way, manufactured issues.
Oh, man.
They are real issues, but they're not all that common.
Yeah.
But I totally understand why people get emotional about this.
It's
Okay. So
Run
you-
this one stat. Are native-born citizens twice as likely to commit crimes than immigrants?
okay. We have
Just
Adam,
find the stat.
Okay, find the stat.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Do you realize how much contradictions there is in what you just said?
No, I'm being
No, let me put it to you
What's
this
the
way.
contradiction?
So, this is so funny what I'm about to say. So you're saying Native Americans are
I'm
more
not, I'm not saying Indian American. I'm saying
I know.
citizens.
Native Americans are more likely to commit a crime than illegal immigrants.
Yes.
Yes?
To be arrested. To be arrested
Hang
for a
on.
crime.
No, crimes.
And you're about to say, well, entering the country is already a crime.
bingo.
That's a crime.
I agree.
They're a criminal.
So,
I
by the
said
way,
I'm not for open
FYI,
borders. I
Adam,
want to shut it down.
Adam,
But to
100.
act like they're murdering everybody when they enter the
Nobody
country
said murdering
is
everybody.
ridiculous.
Nobody even said
100
that.
What is this? What is this stat?
100% of illegal immigrants commit crimes.
They
Period.
That's it. End of discussion.
Okay.
No. 100% of illegal immigrants commit crime.
by entering our country illegally.
That's illegal.
I agree with you.
You're a criminal.
I agree with you.
Okay.
But
So,
that
by
doesn't
the
mean
way,
they're raping people
I didn't say
or
that
killing
technically.
people.
That's a crime.
I agree.
Perfect.
You're not gonna. I'm not gonna fight
but,
you on that.
But the part on what I'm trying to understand his position and your position and Cuomo's position. I have a relationship with all of you guys, and I'm trying to see what
Cuomo and I
everybody-
pretty much have the same position
I
on this.
in this topic.
That it is manufactured, that they're out
There's
here
only one problem.
killing people.
There's only one problem.
That they shouldn't be here in the first place.
There's only one problem. You know
Yes.
what the problem is?
Tell me.
Okay. Adam, when you
Here we go.
couldn't stand Trump and you voted for Biden
Yep.
and you voted against Trump twice,
Yep.
you voted for Hillary and you voted for Biden.
Yeah.
Okay. And then eventually something happened and you flipped.
Yeah. Same with a lot of people.
No. Hear me where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
This is the part that you know you're going to get some credit. What ended up happening with you?
Cut this clip, guys. Go ahead.
Why? No, actually, turn off the.
Turn off the mics.
Don't even,
We're going dark.
turn the audio off. Make
Don't
Jake
give
have
Adam
some
credit.
audio
We don't
issues in the
need this.
background. Yeah. No. What ended up why the audience was with you? The position they took is, at least he came out and said it. I was wrong.
Yeah.
The biggest thing with Cuomo is, you know how he could have been, the difference could have been there, what my understanding of what Winnie's trying to say. If Cuomo would have said, I fell for the trap of George Floyd, and I was a part of it, and I was wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm
By the way, I didn't
challenging-
comment on George Floyd at all. That to me is a separate issue.
By the
Go
way,
ahead.
what did they do with George Floyd when it happened?
it was-
CNN and all that stuff. It was like end of the
George
world.
Floyd is BLM. It's a
Yes.
lie.
But
It's
what's-
gays for
you know,
Gaza. It's all one big
but what's
fabrication.
The point
Yes.
is the fact that he's coming out now saying this. It would have landed in a different way if he would have said, I was wrong.
Yeah.
And I would ask for people from the other side to also receive this, even though it's a sensitive
Mm-hmm.
topic. For example, you ever seen when MLK got shot, the Bobby Kennedy speech? Rob, can you pull up the Bobby Kennedy speech when Bobby Kennedy Jr.'s father, when
Yeah.
MLK was assassinated, the first person that announced it to the public was Bobby Kennedy.
Yeah.
And this speech is unbelievable.
Because he was Attorney General at the point.
It was
Okay.
unbelievable. Right there, announcing it. Right there, Rob, if you can play this. Okay? Let it keep going. Let the ad go. Have
you seen this guy?
Pause this. Audio, so we don't hear it. Okay. Now go there. Okay. Watch this. Watch this. This is the speech that he gives. Okay? This is in Indianapolis. It's riveting. And the reaction of the people when he announces is so freaking emotional. It's so emotional. Because look at the date. What's the date when MLK got shot? 68, I want to say.
Is the 4th?
Watch this. I believe that's his brother, Ted.
Yep.
Watch. Come on.
It's coming.
There it is.
On the back of a flatbed
Truck.
I have some very sad news
Listen.
for all of you.
First person
and I
releasing
think
it
sad news for all of our fellow citizens
to the people in Indianapolis.
and people who love
Listen.
peace all over the world. And that is that Martin Luther King was shot and was killed tonight in Memphis.
They don't know, Vinny.
Martin Luther King dedicated his life to love and to justice between fellow human beings. He died in the cause of that effort. In this difficult day, in this difficult time for the United States, it's perhaps well to ask what kind of a nation we are and what direction we want to move in. For those of you who are black,
Listen.
considering the evidence evidently is that there were white people who were responsible, you can be filled with bitterness and with hatred and a desire for revenge. We can move in that direction as a country, in greater polarization, black people amongst blacks and white amongst whites, filled with hatred toward one another. Or we can make an effort, as Martin Luther King did, to understand and to comprehend and replace that violence, that stain of bloodshed that is spread across our land with an effort to understand, compassion, and love. For those of you who are black
Wait. It's coming up.
and are tempted to be filled with hatred and
No teleprompter.
mistrust of the injustice of such an act
Pure heart.
against all white people, I would only say that I can also feel in my own heart
Bingo. Listen.
the same kind of feeling. I had a member of my family killed,
His brother.
but he was killed by a white man. But we have to make an effort in the United States.
This is what we need today.
We have to make an effort to understand, to get beyond or go beyond these rather difficult
This
times.
message lands.
My favorite poem, my favorite poet was Aeschylus. And he once wrote, even in our sleep, pain which cannot forget falls drop by drop upon the heart, until in our own despair, against our will, comes wisdom through the awful grace of God.
Awful grace of God.
What we need in the United States is not division. What we need in the United States is not hatred. What we need in the United States is not violence and lawlessness, but is love and wisdom and compassion toward one another. Feeling of justice toward those who still suffer within our country, whether they be white.
And then they killed him. And then they killed him.
But you know what but it doesn't matter. The message is the message that the country needs. That's the message that we need. And the biggest challenge with Cuomo, coming from a very decorated family in politics, one of the biggest in New York. I don't know who you put ahead of his family in New York. 3-time governor, 3 terms, both. Father, son, him, CNN, TV. It's a decorated family politically in New York. The only thing with Chris that I always give him the feedback, hey man, people just want to hear you say one magical thing.
Sorry.
I was wrong.
Yep.
I was wrong. And by the way, everything changes with the messaging because the landing of the message, where a guy like you that wants to like him, I know you like him,
I like him a lot.
but you hear something pisses you off, you're like, dude, what are you doing? What's this all about? And so that's the complexity of these types of issues that you're dealing with, because the reality of it is George Floyd, you can go look at the data on what happened with him. With his background, track record, what he did. Him, Laken Riley. Laken Riley, what did she do?
Nothing.
You know, and you go back and both of them, what did it do? One of them caused ruckus and chaos in America, destroyed it. Why? Because they needed it. You know, it's an extremely emotional story on 2 different communities. So I understand what you're saying. But the reality of it is when I hear that comment about illegal immigrants commit less crime than the ones, it's like, no. Illegal immigrants, 100% of them commit crimes because it's against the law to come here illegally, period. Not saying, hey, wouldn't you have done it if you had kids and you had a better life to come to America? Most likely. But what I'm saying to you is it's still a what?
Crime.
It's still a crime. So we can twist that any way we want. The stats don't favor the people that bring those stats up. Last year, we ran one of the coolest contests ever. And I thought it was going to be a basic dinner and meet and greet and all this other stuff. It turned into a massive spectacle. It was a Minnect contest for 2 months for lightweight, middleweight, heavyweight, and super heavyweight. And even users got involved. And we invited the top 3. You pay your flight, hotel, all that stuff. But once you came here, we went to dinner together at Casa D'Angelo, top-notch dinner. Then we went to the cigar lounge. And it was such a great time. We stayed together till midnight. We had 6.5 hours of conversations. I'm going to show you the highlight from last year. Then I want to announce this contest for all of you guys to compete in from June to July, and the dinner will be sometime in August. Rob, play this clip. Go for it.
We just had our first Minnect dinner. Let me tell you, it was so awesome because we had the dinner. It was absolutely an amazing experience. Oof. The conversations, the networking, great. There's people from all over the world. So I said, maybe I'll stick around for an hour, maybe an hour and a half. But then afterward, we came right here at the cigar lounge. I stayed till midnight. We had 6.5 hours of conversations.
That was fantastic.
Yeah.
So if you weren't there, you missed it. We wish you were there, but I'll give you one counsel. We're about to announce the next contest. Do not miss the next Minnect contest. And I hope to see you there.
By the way, it was so great. Deals were done. Relationships were built. Conversations. So go download the app if you haven't yet, whether it's Apple or Google. Start Minnecting. Ask questions. Nowadays, we got Ray Lewis that's officially on Minnect. And who's responding back to people on Minnect. Really? By the way, Stephen A. Smith's going to get active on Minnect on today or tomorrow, starting his account where people can ask Stephen A. questions.
James O'Keefe.
Anna Kasparian, James O'Keefe, Paul Saladino, Terrence Howard, Cuomo. There are so many great people. Lindy Lee is crushing it,
killing it
on Minnect, the way that it's going. And by the way, who knows who's going to be at this dinner when we host this. So if you like good conversations, if you want to come to South Florida, we're going to probably give you a tour to headquarters as well when you come down here, then go straight to dinner, then go straight to the cigar lounge, which is a private club, but some of you guys will have a chance to be a part of it. And by then, we have a lot of new surprises with the private club, so you'll get a chance to tour as well. So download the app, start Minnecting, start competing. The update on the Leaders Bulletin will be on Minnect.com. Rob, if you go to Minnect.com, just go to Minnect.com, and if you look at the contest, on the experts, that's how it works, okay? If you look at a lightweight right now, at the top is Dean Mason. James O'Keefe right now, second place. Wow. Then is Luis Cancion. Go to a middleweight, Rob. Middleweight right now is John Mason, then Lily Tam, then is James Murphy. Let's go to heavyweight, because everybody from heavyweight goes to super heavyweight. So it's Daniel, number 1.
Daniel.
Michael Maher, Matt Sapala. Then it's super heavyweight is what? Super heavyweight is Lindy Lee, myself, Timothy Ryan, Oshana Tom Sauce, Dennis Punham, and a couple other guys. By the way, the scoring will be the following. To compete the next 2 months, lightweight will have to do a minimum of 200 points. You have to be lightweight today. You can go up, but we're going to calculate your points from today. Middleweight, you have to do minimum of 400. Heavyweight is minimum 400 points, and super heavyweight has to be 1,500 points. And the users contest, go to users, Rob. A new user goes out there, 200 points you score, new users. Existing user has to be 400 points. You'll be invited to that dinner in a cigar lounge with us. Go download the app, start Minnecting today.
If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here.